everyone to the Quarter 1 2022 Muslim Professional Forum, MPF. And as we all know, this is a quarterly event that happened, year in, year out. And the theme of this particular event today is strategic personal development. And we have capable lecturers, to do justice to the topic of today. But before I proceed, I want to say a big appreciation to everyone for joining this session. And inshallah, I'll be your moderator for today alongside Sister Amina. My name is Idowu Ibrahim, and inshallah. So without further ado, is Sister Amina there? If you are there, please kindly unmute and say Taslim to the house. Sister Amina, are you there? Sister Amina Oseni. Okay, I guess she's trying to adjust the set. Okay, so now we go to the opening prayer, and inshallah, I would like to call on a known brother of the house in person of Brother Yusuf, or Mr. Yusuf Aweda. He's actually a senior software engineer, an automation expert, a trainer. He's everything to us. He's a mentor, likewise. A very powerful brother indeed. He will be giving us the opening prayer. Mr. Yusuf Aweda, kindly unmute your mic.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, the beneficent and the merciful, we give all things and adoration to Him. We pray that He guide us through our endeavor in this special occasion. We also pray to Him to make everything that we have learned, that we'll be learning here as the working tools in our lives, may make it beneficial and may make it as hujah for us, the positive hujah for us and the day of resurrection. Amen. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim.
Okay, Zaphul Akharan to his brother. We pray that Allah make, we say amen to all the prayers. Before I go ahead, I'm supposed to introduce our rapporteurs for today. They are actually they will be responsible for, taking salient points during the course of the program. And our rapporteurs for today are Builder Abdulhakim Ogunjobi and Ajia Bushro Oyebanji. Please, if you're on the call, could you guys kindly say Taslim to the house?
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. Next on the agenda is for us to listen to a recitation from the glorious Quran. It's for us to listen to the recitation from the glorious Quran. And we have Brother Lukman Odunewu to assist us with that. He's actually the MD of Renew Ventures. He's also an educational consultant, as well as a school proprietor. Please come over to the virtual lectern. You have the floor.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو قانت أناء الليل ساجدا وقائما يحذر الآخرة ويرجو رحمة ربه قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you for that wonderful recitation, and may Allah reward you in abundance. The next item on the agenda is opening remarks, and Sister Miriam, can you please take that? Okay, so to take the opening remark, I'll call on Brother Idris Mustafa. Brother Idris Mustafa is actually a project manager. He's actually certified, yes, he's a PAP certified professional, project management professional. He works with Pan-African Tours Limited. We are excited to have you, and please come over to the virtual time to actually take the opening remark. Please, over to you.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We thank Allah, the one who has made it possible for us to be gathered here today. We seek His mercy and blessing on the noble son of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. May the same be on his household, his companions, and same for all of us to the day of Qiyamah. Okay, firstly, let me say that on behalf of the Aimosho Muslim professional, we welcome everyone to this occasion. This is the first of the professional forum that we'll be having this year, and there are many more to come. So we welcome ourselves, and I want to say that this particular one is a special one. Apart from the fact that it's the first one we are doing in the year, we also have something very important to discuss, and that is something that has to do with strategic, personal development. Of course, if you are talking about the history of any nation, then you'll be talking of the history of the individuals making up the nation. So now, when we look at the development of a society, the development of our nation, the development of our Ummah, there is no way we'll be able to have that if we don't have individual, looking at their own personal development. It is when we have various individuals developing, that is when we'll be able to say that our society is actually developing. So this is making it very, very important. And today we have somebody to facilitate. We are very sure that he is capable. Somebody like me will say that he happened to be a colleague of my own elder brother back in Federal University of Technology, Akure. So for so many years, while he was in school, I know very well some of those things that they were able to do back in school. So, and after that, where he was working, the kind of endeavor he has been involved in, and I'm very sure by the time he's been introduced, we will know that we have a very great facilitator for today. So is capable. So what is important now is for all of us to take opportunity of whatever is going to be discussed today. And it's going to be a very practical, session. So it's not a theory thing that we just listen and we'll forget it like that. We want to see it happening to us. So we are going to develop, and I believe by end of the program today, all of us would have got one thing or the other that will say, okay, yeah, this is a template I can use for my own personal development, strategic personal development. So may Almighty Allah make it possible for us. May Almighty Allah make it possible for the facilitator and for every one of us, that we are going to tap into what we are going to gain today. So I welcome us, and let us have a very great session. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's great. Jazakumullah khairan. That was a well-crafted speech, short and apt. And I agree with you. This session is actually a very unique one because, yes, we have to be strategic and we have to be intentional about our personal development, especially as Muslims. I have been privileged to work in different places, and I can say that we Muslims are actually we are short in supply. Let me put it that way. And it's actually high time that we're strategic and we're intentional about our personal development. There are opportunities out there for us to actually, bounce on. But how do we get these opportunities? How do we strategize? How are we intentional about, developing ourselves personally? And this is just a tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have a capable facilitator who is going to be sharing quite some insightful, giving us insights as to how to achieve all of this. And I say a big to our opening remarks speech taker. Without further ado, permit me to go to the next item on the agenda, which is we're going to be taking a poll right now. Please, Infonet, can you please just help us open the poll for our audience to quickly take it before we move on to the next item, please. Yes, we're taking the poll right now. Please, can we have the poll open? Okay, so we can all see the poll right now. So please, let's quickly take this. It's actually important for us, to going into the lecture proper, is just to have an insight on some of the things that we do as regards our personal development. Thank you. I do hope that we're taking the poll. We have just 5 minutes to do this, and then 1 minute 30 seconds is gone. Okay, we have few seconds to go. And we have 36 participation already, 36% participation rate. We have 21 of 30 people completed the poll. We have roughly 10 seconds to go. Five seconds to go. Okay, I think we're done. It's 5 minutes already. So thank you to everyone who participated in the poll. And we go on to the next item on the agenda. And that's introduction of our speaker for today. Is actually a big masquerade in the house. I mean, big masquerade in quotes. Permit me to call on Sister Amina, my co-moderator, to introduce our lecturer. Sister Amina, if you are talking, okay, we can hear you now.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's my great pleasure to introduce the lecturer to us all today. Mr. Nurudeen Fashola is a versatile technologist and a business leader with deep understanding of agile and Scrum best practices, multidisciplinary competence in product management, product ownership, Scrum Master, business analysis, solution architect, software and product development, process management, strategy development, quality assurance, mentorship and program management with industry experience spanning manufacturing, information technology, telecommunication, payment and financial services. Nurudeen Fashola is a great team player responsible for managing the performance of highly technical engineering team, an effective people manager, leveraging on the potentials of team members, using technology to drive business growth, and providing effective mentorship for subordinates. His specialties are: 1, expertise in new product development using agile methodology. 2, product management, product marketing and product launch. 3, business analysis, design, development and management. 4, business process reengineering, design and optimization. 5, project and program management using Lean Six Sigma methodology. 7, facilitate and drive idea generation, insight and product innovation. 8, extensive knowledge of computer software design, development, implementation, and support. 10, skilled at communicating technical and non-technical materials to audience, peers, and senior management. And lastly, it specializes in financial and portfolio management. Mr. Nurudeen Fashola is also an author of the book, The Birth of a Godless Society. Join me as I welcome today's facilitator and lecturer to the invisible podium, Mr. Nurudeen Fashola, sir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You're welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. The profile is actually very is intimidating and inspiring also. Okay, I think you have the floor, sir.
Do I have the floor? Okay, now. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. We give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord merciful, the Lord gracious, the Lord beneficent, the Lord benevolent, the Lord master of the day of judgment. He begots not, neither was he begotten, and there is nothing, there is no being, be it in the past, nor in the present, neither will there be any in the future that can be likened unto thee. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that we Muslims worship cannot be confined in a space, for he had existed ever before he created that thing called space. Allah Azza wa Jal that we Allah's Muslims worship cannot be measured by time, for he had existed ever before he created that thing called time. The more we imagine, and the more we try to imagine who Allah is, the more we know less of who Allah is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been in existence ever before he created that thing called existence. Now that existence is existing, Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala continue to exist. And when existence shall cease to exist, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to exist. We also give thanks and glorification to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our master, our teacher, our tutor, our mentor. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and all those that tread his path till the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah. So my dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, I greet you with the greeting of peace, with the greeting of image of paradise. May Allah make us one of the image of paradise by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah, so I think we'll just go straight into it, and I'll be sharing my screen so that we'll run through those presentations that I have. And basically what we are here to discuss today is about strategic planning. It's about strategic management. And it's about how do we overlay these on our own personal development, because it is the individual that actually make up the society. And if you look at the successes that our Prophet Muhammad achieved, yes, he achieved it with the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he had capable individuals. And what is lacking today within our space, within our environment, within our locality, is that we don't have enough capable individuals. And what this means is that for a nation to grow, it is not just an individual. Like it is often said, that a tree cannot make a forest. So we need that mass movement of people who understand what needs to be done and how it has to be done. And the successes that our people of past, the companions, how they achieved it, it's not just because of their magnitude in terms of number, it is also because of their individual capacity, individual ability. And you have each and every one of them having something to bring to the table. But the question we keep asking ourselves, and why we find ourselves where we find ourselves today, particularly the Muslim Ummah, is that do we have those capacity? Even though where we do have it, do we have that critical mass of people that is needed to actually effect those change. So these are the things that we shall be discussing today on a personal level. How do we move from one point to another and ensure that we are creating opportunity, not only for ourselves, but also for the general Ummah. So I guess I have the ability to share my screen, moderator. Yep, I think I can do that, yeah. So, yeah, sorry. I'm sure you all can see my screen. Yeah.
Yes, please, we can.
Let me put it on. Yep. So basically, we'll be looking into strategic personal development. And when we talk of this, we want to have a general overview of this. And, again, just before sharing the screen, I've made mention of some of those things. The first thing we need to look at is what exactly it is when we say strategic personal development, what it is. So we need to understand the what. Then we'll now move into understanding the why. Then why is it important? Because most often than not, at times we know what to do, but we don't know the reason why we do it. And when you know what to do and you don't know the reason why you do it, you might eventually lose the vigor. You might eventually lose the interest to wanting to do it. So the first thing we need to understand is, what exactly do we want to do? What exactly are we set up to do? What exactly should we do? Then once you understand the what, then the why comes in. And the why is what will now be driving you to say, yes, this is the reason why I need to do this what. But in most cases, we just believe that, oh, I'm doing it because of X, Y, Z, but you don't even actually understand the what. So the very first step when we're talking of strategic planning, strategic management, strategic development is for us to understand the what. And having understand the what, then you now look at the why, and that will be the driving force. Even though when you understand the what and you understand the why, but if you do not know how to do it, that is also a big problem. So the combination of the what, the why, and the how, they are important when it comes into strategic management, when it comes into strategic planning, and when it comes into personal development. You must understand who you are. And you must understand why you want to do what you are set out to do. Then the last bit will now be, how do I do it? So all of these three, they are what? They are all together. So you must understand the what, you must understand the why, and you must understand the who. So we're going to start from the what. And I'll start with this quotation, that it is never too late to be who you might have been. And again, this is very instructive, because most often than not, we'll be like, oh, I should have done this thing 10 years ago. Why are you guys just coming this time around and telling me this? This is something that I should have done while I was still, a teenager. But the reality is that there is never a time that is too late. And there is an hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, which of course we are also going to explain once we get, further line, when he was telling one of the companions that even though when you know that the day of judgment is just right now and now, if you have a seedling or if you have a seed in your hand, you should still go ahead and what? And plant it. Meaning that no action is never too late. And we should not be the kind of people that will always sit back and say, oh, I've lost the opportunity, it's gone, and that's the end of the day. No, it is never too late. And if you really want to be successful when you are doing your personal development plan, then you should know that it is never too late. And there is this common saying, which of course I also believe we all know, when they ask people that when is the best time for you to plant a tree, it's like, oh, it's 20 years ago, but 20 years has gone. But the next best time is to do it what? Now. So once you understand the worth, just go for it. Forget about the past. Whatever has happened in the past has gone, right? Understand your present and try to use your present to create what the future would look like. Because the future, you don't know what it is. The present, yes, maybe you do know, but you now need to understand the present to be able to plan for the what? For the future. So never look back and say that, oh, I've missed this opportunity. Yes, you've missed the bus, but you are still alive and you can still get to your what? To your destination. So when we talk of strategic planning, there are three key concepts I want to explain here, and these are foundational. And we need to understand this critically, just so that we can understand the next set of things that we'll be discussing. So what is strategy? And again, is a word that we use generally, we use all the time. And when you're talking of strategy, you are basically talking of a general plan of how you want to achieve your long-term objectives. Or in some cases, it could also be a what? A short-term objective. And under which condition? And in most cases, it is under a condition of uncertainty. Take, for example, you want to move from point A to point B. You don't know whether the road is good. You don't know whether it's going to rain, whether you should carry your umbrella, whether you should follow a bus, or whether you should follow a taxi, or whether you should ride on Okada. You don't know. So the plan around you moving from point A to point B, it's all about you now creating a what? A strategy around it. So a strategy is just all about a plan that you want to use to achieve, be it your long-term or your short-term goals. But most often than not, it's always a what? A long-term. And there is no way we can understand strategy in its whole essence, except we also understand what a goal is. And, in management, although there are debates, and, there are two schools of thought that do you talk about strategy before the goal, or do you talk about the goal before you discuss strategy? But the one I'm, more tending towards, to which of course I believe makes more sense to me, is that you need to understand your goal first before you start talking of what? The strategy to achieve the goal. Because the goal is what you want to achieve, where you want to be. And a typical example, again, which I'm going to use, is you want to move from point A to point B. Maybe you are in Aimosho, you want to get to Ikeja, right? So your goal is to leave Aimosho and get to Ikeja. Then your strategy would be, how do I get to Ikeja? Do I take a bike? Do I take Marua? Yes, I have a car, but there's going to be traffic. So do I drive myself, or do I take Uber, or is there, a drone literally that can move me from that location to that location? Or should I just decide that, no, I'm not even leaving my spot? I can actually achieve what I want to in Ikeja by logging in through Zoom or having conversation with that person online. So that is your what? That is your strategy, right? Then the next level of strategy is what we call objectives. So the objectives are now the specific actions that you are going to take, which are in tandem with the strategy that enables you to achieve the goal. Do you get that? So you have your strategy, you have your goal, you have your strategy, then you have your what? You have your objective. So every individual must have all of these. You must have your own strategy to be able to achieve certain goals. And the first thing is that you must understand what your goals are. Then the other two key things I also want us to know when we're talking of strategy and planning and all of that is mission and vision. And at a personal level, I always tell people, for us as individuals, our mission and our vision has already been sealed by Allah. So we can't change that, right? So our mission in this world is what Allah asks us to come and do, which is to come and service, which is to come and worship Him and be His representative on the surface of the heart. So I don't always go into the thinking of, oh, do I need to have my own personal mission or my own personal vision? No, I don't go into that, because I believe that that has been sorted by Allah. So whatever I want to do, Allah has defined my mission, Allah has defined my vision for me. And vision is just a long-term goals or long-term activities that I want to achieve. Why your mission is the real reason why you exist. And if you look at it in the context of a corporate organization, every corporate organization would have a vision, they'll have their mission. But now we're discussing at a personal level, but I just thought it's wise to just bring it up here. But for us as individuals, when we're talking about our personal development plan, the very first thing that should come to our mind is, what is my goal? Or what are my goals? Then what strategy do I need to put in place to achieve those goals? Then the next thing will now be the objectives. And the objective is the one that is now specific, that is smart, And I'm sure we understand the concept of SMART, something that is specific, that is measurable, that is actionable, time-bound, and blah, 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 and the rest. So your objective will not be, in the case of the example we are using now, to say that, oh, you want to move from point A to point B. Your objective will not be that, oh, I need to get to Ikeja by 2 p.m. on so date. That is now what a specific activity. But before I go, leaving Aimosho to Ikeja, I also need to do ABC. I need to inform, or I need to make sure that my family is well sorted, such that if I'm away for the next 1 week, they have everything that they need to be in place. I need to make sure that I have enough cash in my spouse or in my wife's bank account. I need to make sure that I have that, because those ones are now what specific objectives. So objectives are those activities which are specific, which are measurable, that enables you to implement the strategy, which will now ensure that you are able to achieve that goal, which is the goal of moving from Aimosho to where? So Ikeja. Another example I always try to also use in this scenario, trying to explain what strategy is and making sure that people understand the difference between strategy, between objective, between goals and all of that, is like, take for example, the game of, any game, be it soccer or tennis or whatever. The goal of each individual or of each team is to win the match. That is a goal, because it's a long term, or it is what you want to achieve. Then the strategy will now be, do I want to be defensive? Do I want to be offensive? Do I want to play counter attack or counter defense? That is the strategy. Then the objective will now be, what formation do I use? Do I use 2-2-2-4, 3-3-3-1, 1-1-1-1, or whatever activity? So that is another level to explain it, just so that we can understand all of this. And again, it is also possible that you develop it. In most cases, the ideal is to develop it from top, bottom. That is your goal, your strategy, your objectives, then that's it. But it is also possible for you to come from bottom up. That is, come up with your objectives, then come up with a strategy that you're going to use that overlays those objectives. And with that, you can identify, oh, this is the goal, and this is where we want to be. So that's strategy, that's goal, that's mission, vision, and all of that. Then the next thing we also need to understand is our own personal strategy. So we talked about strategy generally, then personally, we should have our own strategy. And when we talk of personal strategy, it is basically a logical, substantiated, and balanced in time, your resources, your personal desirable states that you want to be in the future. So you want to be an accountant in the future, or you want to be a CTO in the future. So what are the things that I need to do? That includes not just my time, it includes my resources, it includes my desirable states of where I want to get into in the future. And how do I make sure that all of these are well connected to ensure that I'm able to move from my current state to my future state? And when you are also doing your personal strategy, one thing that also should come to mind is three key concepts, which is for you to understand your current state. Your current state is, where am I? Where am I now? You must understand your current state. And for you to understand your current state, nobody else can help you to understand your current state except yourself. Then you now come up with where you want to be in the future. What is my future state? Where do I want to be? Then the difference between your current state and your future state is what we call gap analysis. So each and every one of us must do a gap analysis of ourselves to say that, yes, I'm in point A, but I want to get to point B. The difference between point A and point B is that. And that is your gap analysis. And it is those gaps that you now need to work on to ensure that you're able to get to that future state. But most often than not, when we're defining our goals, many of us do not even understand our current state. We just feel that, oh, everybody is doing ABC, then I too, I should just do ABC. Meanwhile, you do not even understand what ABC means, which is the future state, and how does that ties into your current state. And there's this saying that says that, you cannot really understand your future except you understand your present. It is the understanding of the present that will enable you to plan for what the future would be. So that is basically personal strategy. And the takeout point here is that for us as individuals, when we are doing this, we need to retrospectively ask ourselves, where am I? Where do I want to be in the next X number of years? And what is the difference between where I am and where I want to be? And that is what is actually the activities you need to focus on. That is understanding your current state, projecting into the future what your future state should look like. And the difference between your present and your future state, which is your current state and your future state, is what we call the gap analysis that you have done. And those activities that comes out of those gaps are those things that you now focus on. And that's where your objectives will now be, right? For you to implement that will take you to the next level. Then the other part is for us to understand, putting all of this together now, strategy and our personal strategy, and what exactly do we mean when we talk about strategic personal development. It is basically a deliberate long-term individual plan. It is long-term, it is an individual plan that is designed for consistent 360-degree career development. And again, it might not necessarily be just about career, because again, that's also another point that people miss, that when you're talking of personal development, everybody just thinks about it, oh, it's just about my career. And we're going to see why it is not just only about your career. Though it is personal, but it is also something that requires help from what? From mentors and peers. So you cannot develop your personal development plan by yourself alone. You need to consult with people. You need to talk to people, and you must have different mentors. And again, some people will be like, oh, I have just one mentor. It's not going to work. You can't have one mentor. On different issues, you should have people who you can go to, who you can talk to. If it is about a specific, area, oh, this is the person I can go to, and nobody knows it all. And even though our religion teaches us that we should consult with people before we even consult with Allah. We do our istihara, do our mushara, consult with people, then before we now table it to Allah to say, this is what I've decided. If it is good for me, make it happen. If it is not, replace it. So we cannot do a strategic development plan ourselves, all by ourselves alone. So you need a mentor, and you also need a what? People that you can share ideas with. So in general, that is what exactly strategic personal development is all about. And again, if we talk about this in the last slide, I talked about the fact that it is not just about the career. It is something that is what? Holistic. And when people talk about personal development, they look at it from the viewpoint of, oh, I'm currently a specialist or an analyst in an organization. I want to become a manager. I want to become a general manager or become a senior manager and move to become a director. Yeah, it's good. But that is not everything about personal development. Personal development is holistic. It must have this 360-degree view, which means it talks about your soft and social skills, whereby you talk about your emotional intelligence, about empathy, about kindness. And our religions also teaches us about this, good manners. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ was clear on this, that the best of you are the people with good manners. And there is nobody that is better than me because I treat people when it comes to good manners. So we should have all of those skills. We should be kind, we should be emotionally intelligent, we should have empathy, we should have regards for people. It's all about developing our personal development. Then the other side of it is that we also need to look at it from the viewpoint of spirituality. That's the second bit. So when you're talking of your personal development, don't leave spiritual out of it. And that is where we find most of our brothers or sisters or making, that big problem. To say, oh, I'm only concerned, even though in school, in our days in the university, We are just only concerned about, oh, going to the lecture, reading and making first class. Good, is great. You must make first class. But again, don't forget about your spirituality. So when you are designing and coming up with your personal development plan, make sure that it is bundled with a whole lot of spiritual activities that makes it what? Balanced. Then the third part of it is that it must also include your physical well-being, your mental well-being, your medical checkup, because if you are not strong, you can't do all of this. And the Rasul said that, a strong Muslim is better than a weak Muslim, though both of them are good. But the one who is strong is better than the one who is weak. So when you're talking about your personal development plan, also be thinking about, am I physically sound? Do I have all that it takes physically to be able to implement all of this plan? So always remember your physical and your health well-being. Financials, you can't run away from it. You cannot have a personal development plan except and until you also have some financial component, because for you to be able to implement the plan, you need dollars, you need naira, you need pounds, you need cash, you need money to actually implement some of those plans. So you must be thinking of, how am I financially intelligent? Because again, for majority of us, or for most of us working in the corporate world, we get the money at the end of the month and people just keep complaining, oh, it's already 2 weeks, the money is gone. But how are we planning? Are we saving? Do we have savings? Or are we just getting 100,000 at the end of the month? We spend everything. Or once the money comes in, we have something that we're saving. So we must be financially intelligent. So when you're developing your plan, you must take care of your finance, because without the finance, you might not even be able to take care of yourself physically. And it will ultimately affect your what? Your spirituality. And if your spirituality is also affected, it will dampen your morale, and your good character is going to be completely, out of the door. And you can see how everything is connected back. If you don't have the finance, you are unable to take care of yourself, spirituality is going to be affected. There is no doubt about it. And it's also going to affect your social well-being. Then the other bit we also need to do or think about when we're talking of our personal development plan is also our digital skills, because again, now we live in a digital world. Now we're able to talk to one another. People are hundreds of millions of miles away from one another, but we're still able to engage. So how am I ensuring that digitally I'm in consonant with the way things are moving in the world? Am I up to speed, or am I like, 20 million miles away? But if you're 20 million miles away, you should find a way of making sure that you bridge the digital gap. Then the last part of it is that your technical knowledge. And that is where the real thing about the career comes in. So if you are an engineer, you must know everything about engineering. If you're a software developer, you must know everything about software development. If you're an accountant, you must aspire to be, is it ACCA or an ICANN, person? And because if you are not ICANN certified, or you don't have the ACCA qualification, then you are not technically sound. But the danger of it, or what I have seen with engaging people, is that this is the part that people focus more on, the technical. And you focus on the technical, you forget all of this, then you will not have a balanced personal development plan. Good. All right, so now let's talk about the why. So the why is just telling us, or want to know, now that we know what exactly personal development is all about, strategic planning and all of that. So, but why do we need to do it? Why is it important? Because it is the understanding of the why that would drive us to make sure that we are able to do the what, or it will give us a better understanding of the what. And there is this quote that says that the swiftest way to triple your success is to double your investment in personal development. And there is no question about this. It's apt, it's important, it's spot on, and it's on point. And when we talk about investments here, we're not just talking about money, because I know when many people hear about investment, they'll be like, oh, money, I don't have money, I don't have cash. No, it's about your time. It's about your intellect. It's about your resources. it's not just about money. Money is not everything, though it plays a strong role in developing our plan. But again, if you don't have money, that does not mean that you cannot have a plan. So for you to ensure that you are able to be successful in your activity, to be able to achieve all of those goals, then you must be ready to invest in your personal development. And that is the reason, that is one of the reasons why we must do personal development. And aside from that, our religion also have copious of examples that tells us about the reason why we must do it. And one of such is the very first verses or set of verses that Allah revealed in the Quran, which is about what? Reading, which is about what? Knowledge, which is about what? The pen, which is about what? Writing. And we cannot and we would not succeed in our personal development plan except we have what? The knowledge. The reason why our pious predecessors succeeded was because they had that knowledge. And again, there's also an hadith of the Prophet Muhammad that tells us about that we should walk for this world as if it will never end. That is, we are going to live here forever and work for this world. And that is very instructive. It is telling us that we should not just be thinking about spirituality, we should also be thinking about how we're going to be successful in this world. Because yes, we are here. Yes, everybody wants to go to Al-Jannah, which is the ultimate prize, but you cannot get there until you are successful here. So live in this world as if you are going nowhere, as if tomorrow is not going to end, as if the world is not going to end. Do everything you can. And at the same time, also prepare for the hereafter, as if after this lecture, everything is what? Gone, done, and dusted. And this exemplifies the fact that we must, as individuals, live a what? A balanced life. And when we're talking about personal development, it must be balanced. It must be holistic, spiritual, technical, and every other aspect of it. Then again, another reason or why we should do this, if you look at the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, it's very instructive, and I'm sure it's something we have read, but I'm just bringing out the points, so I will not go into all of the details. But as I'm saying it, I'm sure you'll be connecting the dots, right there. He planned, because Allah asked him, "You are going to face Pharaoh." I was like, "Me face Pharaoh? I'm a small brat. How can I face this guy?" But he prepared. And what did he ask Allah? He asked Allah to open up his chest. So he was being strategic about the words, the goal that Allah has given him. The goal is go face Pharaoh. Then the next thing was thinking of, okay, what is the strategy that I need to face Pharaoh? He said he needs knowledge, he needed faith, he needed affection. And he prayed to Allah, expand my chest such that I have the faith, I have the courage, I have the knowledge, I have the affection. So he's strategizing, because the goal is go face Pharaoh. And he did not stop there. He asked Allah to ease his weakness, because we all have weaknesses. There is nobody that is perfect. And we all know the weakness of our prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, which has to do with the speech. He's not the kind of person that the speech is just that smooth and straight. And what did he ask for? He asked for a mentor. He asked for a backup. He asked for somebody that can help him with his weakness, because he realizes that that weakness is not something that can just be wished away. It can't just go. And if I cannot, I can always bring in people. And that is why, remember the definition of strategic personal development. We talked about you not doing it alone. You need your peers, or you need who? Your mentors, to help you in some certain areas where you have weaknesses, because we are all weak, or we all have our areas of what? Of weaknesses. And look at how Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam strategized. And Allah gave him his words, his brother Harun, to help him, to strengthen him, to make sure that he was able to share of those tasks. And when we have our personal development or our strategy, don't just keep it. Yes, you might keep it to your chest, but you also need to discuss it in a way with people to test the waters, that this plan, is it really going to work? Or this new career field I want to go into, does it make sense? So you need to test and check. And also, if we look at the story of Prophet Yusuf, the same thing is also about planning, is also about strategy. And what this is telling us is showing the fact that for us as Muslim, our personal development is as important as our being Muslim, because it's part of our deen. And we should see it as part of our deen. We should plan for everything. We are not the one that just wake up and say, oh, tomorrow, I don't know what to do. When I wake up, I'll decide on what to do. No, you should have a plan, and you should stick to those plans. And if you need to change the plan, change those plans. And if you do all of this, the end product or the end result of you having a strategic plan is that it helps you to find the what? A purpose in life, because you have a goal. Remember, like I said, the strategic plan starts with the what? With the goal. What do I want to achieve? So you have a purpose. Just like I'm sure every one of us had a purpose for coming for this lecture. So that is the why of what? Of strategic development plan. It enables you to have what? A purpose, a focus. It also helps you to create more opportunities. And we're going to see that as we go along. Because when you document everything you want to do, it will be a lot easier for you to check through, and you now realize that, oh, I'm missing something here. Oh, I'm missing something here. It also helps you to improve your what? Your self-awareness. You are much more conscious about your environment. You are much more conscious about what you should do and what you should not. And it also helps you to develop your what? Your strength. And at the same time, find a way to eliminate your what? Your weaknesses. Going back to the story of Prophet Musa that we just said. He had a weakness, he identified the weakness, and he made sure that he had something or a solution for that weakness that he had, because he knows that if I need to talk to Pharaoh and he cannot even hear me clearly, then the mission is what? Is dead on arrival. So the reason why we have to do all of this is because it also enables us to develop our what? Our strength. And again, it makes sure that we're able to move away from our comfort zone. And when we move away from our comfort zone, it gives us more confidence, it gives us more breadth, it gives us the ability to be able to do things that ordinarily we thought that we are not able to do. So those are some of the reasons why strategic development is what is important. Now that we know the what, we know the why, then the next thing we now need to know is the how, which is the most important part of it. And this is where many people fail. Yes, I know I need to do strategic development plan. Yes, I know. I know the reasons, or I know the whys, but how do I do it? And again, it is often said that there are several ways of skinning a cat, but the most important thing is that for us to get the cat skinned. But the how is also very important, because if you are not careful in the process of skinning the cats, if you do not do it the prescribed way, the way it ought to be done, you might end up killing the cat. If, for example, hypothetically, you are meant to skin the cat and the cat is still meant to be alive. So what this means is that we cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. So the how will now ensure that we are now better able to implement what we need to do to be able to ensure that this personal development plan becomes a what? A reality. So for you to get to that future state, the how of personal development is as important as understanding the what and the why. If you just understand the what and the why, but you don't know how to do the implementation, it's what? It's dead on arrival. Good. So when you talk about the how of implementing the strategic development plan, I have about 11 points here, and I'll talk about them briefly, and I'll now show you a template of what I've used, what I've been using in the past, helping me in this regard. The first thing, like we've said, and some of the things I'll be saying here are things that I've said, I've repeated, but I'll just touch on them briefly. The first thing is you must set a goal. If you don't have a goal, you don't have a plan, because it starts with the goal, followed by the strategy, followed by the what? The objective. Then the next thing is that it must be written down. This point number 2 is as important as any other thing. I remember way back, my plan is just that I have it in my head because, again, I'm not a bright person. I'm not smart, but I always believe that, I don't forget things, easily. But the reality is that I do, because if I don't forget things easily, I should have become an hafiz of the Quran by now, but I know I'm still far away from that. So I don't write it down. But later on, I realized that, 2 months down the line, I just remember that, this thing I should have done. Oh, then that culture of writing it down now became more important. And when I went into quality management, and one of the mantra we have in quality management is document what you do and you do what you document. So if you do not document it, it's as good as you are doing nothing. Then it became dawn on me that part of the things you must do for your strategic plan is that you must write it down. Find a place to write it. If you are still the old folks, if it's on paper, write it down on paper. If you're still using diary, I don't know if there's anybody that's still using, diary these days. But again, the digital world has made it lots easier for us. Everything is on the online. So you must write it down. Then the next thing is that you must do what works for you. You don't need to boil the ocean. Just take it a step at a time. And that dovetails into the fourth point to say, start small and start growing it. So do what works for you. So what works for Mr. A might not necessarily work for Mr. B. And that is why I always tell people, I'm not saying don't listen to all of these motivational speakers and whatever, but just pick out what is good of what they say. Because if you are not careful, some of them would drive you crazy. And because, again, we're in the age of social media and people just go in and post everything. Oh, I made my first million when I was 10 years old, and now I'm 20 years old. I now have 2 billion. Now I'm 30 years old, and I have my own company. Everybody has their own time. And you should not judge your success by the success of another person. So do what works for you, take it a step at a time, then go at your own pace. The pace of brother A is quite different from pace of brother B, but you should be able to check yourself. Then improve your existing skills. So the very first thing you have to do is that, what are those skills that I'm good at? Improve on that. Majority of us went to the university and started studying course that, obviously some of us never even wanted to study that course if we had a choice, but because when jammed us 1, 2, 3 times and you're like, oh, all my colleagues have gone, then I also need to move. But the reality is that what your core skills is what you should build on. Always make sure that you understand what you are good at. What you are not good at, you are not good at it. And the way Allah has created every individual, there is no individual that is not good at 1 or 2 things. So understand that one thing, that is the gift that Allah has given you that you are good at. Leave out the one that is your weakness first. Strengthen the one that you are good at. Then now build capabilities to now strengthen the what? The weaknesses. But the very first point is understanding your skills and building on them. Then have a winner's mindset that, yes, this thing is possible, it's achievable. You don't need a motivational speaker to tell you it's possible, it's achievable. Even though if they tell you it's possible or it's achievable, but within yourself, you must have that internal mindset, and you must be ready to learn from your failures. Everybody will fail. Everybody has failed. All those who today come out in the world and say, oh, they are successful, they've done XYZ billions of dollars, at some point in time, they failed. And that is just the nature and the way Allah has created the world. We would definitely fail. So don't take your failure as a setback. Actually, you should take it as a motivation for you to get what? Better. So when failure comes, just take it on and move on. And just like we know as Muslims, as individuals, Allah has told us that the reason why He created us is for Him to try us. And if anybody says it's not going to be tried, it's just like fooling himself. And by inference or by extension, trials could also be linked to us failing in some certain aspect that we think or we feel we are good at. So when failure comes, learn from your failure. What are the things that I did wrong? What should I do the next time to make sure that I become better? Then continuous improvement, because we are not perfect. And Allah has not created us as a perfect being. It is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is what? That is perfect. So we need to continuously improve our skill set. Then also we should take break when it is required, because we're not machines. Even though machines take break, no matter, even though robots, they take break. The battery might run down, some components might fail. So we need to take break. And the way we take break is also going to be different per individual. So some people, their taking break is sleeping. For me, my taking break is what? Is sleeping. When I know that I'm completely knocked out, then I just go sleeping. It might just be the whole day. The only reason why I wake up is for me to go and do my salad and come back home, eat, do my salad, come back home, and just sleep for that rest of the day. So it does not necessarily mean that, oh, you now need to travel to Jamaica or to this place to take break. No, it doesn't matter. If you have the funds, if you can, so be it. But taking break is just like, trying to ease things out. Forget about everything you are doing. Just take your time out, relax, sleep. Some people, if it is sleeps, it can be anything. Just understand those things that will enable you to what? To calm down. And the last part is that you must be able to measure your achievements. And the 11th point actually links back to what? To 1 and 2. Because if you don't write it down, you cannot measure it. What is not documented cannot be measured. And that is why writing it down is as important as doing it. If you just do it and you have not written it down, there is no way you can confirm whether you have achieved success or not. So I'll take you to the next screen, which just shows you in terms of the how, a template that I have used over time. And this is my own template. This is what I've been using for quite a very long time. And again, you guys would have it. You can tweak it to your
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, go. We're almost done. So you can tweak it to the way that suits you. And for me, I just have 5 focus areas. So I've removed all the details just so that I keep it to what, personal. Is to have my goals. And the way you need to do this, it can be, I do it every 3 months. So January of this year, I've done the plan for the whole of 2020. What is my goal spiritually? What is my goal in terms of investment? What is my goal in terms of business? And I have my reason why I separated investment from business. What is my goal in terms of the career? And what is my goal in terms of my personal, development of my personal activity? And you must be able to write it down. Then the next thing is my strategy. And strategy cuts across everything you are doing, right? In terms of what's the plan. Then the objectives are now the specific things that I need to do spiritually. So I think I have about 14 or 15, but stripped it out. I just put objective 1, 2, 3. Then in terms of investment, in terms of business, in terms of career, in terms of personal. So you also do need to document that. Then again, the next thing I'll do is to make sure that, I now have within a quarter, because it's always good to have a quarterly plan, not a full year plan. Yes, you can have a full year, but focus on the quarter to say in the next 3 months, what out of these 3 objectives that I have, or 15 objectives that I have, which one are the most important one in terms of priority that I should close out within this 3 months? So you list all of those ones out. Then you now go to the next layer, which is in this month of February, out of all of these 7, which 3 or which 4 should I focus on? Then you now go to the specifics of every week. And the way I do it is every week by Friday night before I go to sleep, because you would have been done with the week's work, is that look at my plan again. What are the critical things that I need to deliver this weekend? And by Sunday nights before going to sleep again, I come back again and check it. And the last week of every month is when the last week of every month, the last week of every quarter is when I now do the whole plan again, look at everything again for the whole year, and for the next quarter, what are going to be the specific things that I have to do. So you need to keep doing this over and again. And when you are doing that, quarterly plan, find a quiet place to go do it. 2 hours, 3 hours yourself alone. It might be at home, lock yourself up, just tell your family that, you need like 2 hours, or go pack them somewhere, or you move away and go to a different place and look at all your plan and check all of these things and be sure that you're able to do that. If you do this every quarter, you realize that you keep getting better as you go along. So this is a template that I've used over and again. It didn't start with this. It's something that I've evolved over time, and it has worked for me. And I believe that if you pick up this, it's going to go a long way to help. So I have 30 seconds. So the last part is just to talk about some of the in-demand skill sets that is, apparent in the world today that we as individuals should just be able to plug into. So we might not have enough time to talk more about this, but probably if we get to question and answer, we'll be able to discuss more on some of those in-demand skill sets and how we need to position ourselves and position our strategic development plan in such a way that it plugs into these skill sets. Jazakumullah khairan.
Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, Brother Nurudeen Fashola. It's been an exciting one, and I think we have been able to pick. Sorry, I think. Yeah, I think we've been able to pick quite a number of points. One of which I can remember is number one is for you to understand who you are. I mean, and that it's never too late. You have to take actions now. You have to be able to assess your current state and where you want to be. That's which is called gap analysis. You should have the winner mindset. You have to also learn from failures, and learn to be better. And take a break each time, at every point in time. I mean, just to refresh, to cool off. And most importantly, also you need to be highly spiritual. And you shared with one. I mean, for our youth, I must say this is actually this is a full package, and I'm sure that many of us are excited to be here today. Without further ado, I think we'll just take questions. If you have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat box so that okay. We're waiting for the questions. Okay, brother Kazim Lawal, Mr. Kazim Lawal, you have a question, please. Just go ahead, please.
Now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Madam Nurudeen, for that beautiful presentation. I'm just thinking that the issue of the in-demand skills, or the skills that have been demanded that I mentioned, I don't know if you can spare in 1 or 2 minutes. If you can spend 1 or 2 minutes for him to tell us about that, because I think it will really help us in planning our ourselves towards a particular or towards skills that have been demanded in the market. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. I think, yes, Mr. Nurudeen, please, we can give you 5 minutes to talk about that, please. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so basically, some of these in-demand skill sets, again, I tell people it's based also on your own individual capabilities, right? So, I mean, today it's a technology-driven world. There is no two ways about that, but all of us cannot be a technologist. You must have some certain attributes, some certain, things that, would ensure that you're able to work in that space. But what I tell people is that if you have the mindset of wanting to do it and you have the right mentorship, then you can actually do it. We've had many people who are not medical doctors or who graduated. I think I can count of 2 of my colleagues that went to serve at the same time. One read biochemistry, I think the other one read biology, but today they are medical doctors because that was what they wanted and they went back to school. And we have a couple of examples of so many people who never read computer science in school, and today they are computer, gurus. And we have people who actually went into the university to read computer science. And now if you tell them anything about IT, they're like, no, man, that's not for me. So it depends on our own individual ability and our own skill set. But generally, where the world is driving us towards now is all about what? Technology. And some of those in-demand skill sets revolves around cybersecurity. And again, if you have not been into cyber, you can't just come in, and say, oh, you want to become a cyber expert. You must have the rudiments. But if you are just looking for charting a new career path, so this is what is good for you to say that, oh, cybersecurity could be a very good, important area for us to go. Then cloud computing is also an area that is also highly demanded, because again, everybody, the Internet of Things, everybody's on the internet. If you get to the stage, your fridge, your freezer, your phone, and your computers, and even your car, if possible, your shoe would also be on the internet. So you need cloud computing skilled expertise to be able to manage all of this. But at the early stage, it was like all of those networking gurus, all of those networking or server or infrastructure guy, the job just went off the radar. Because when the world was moving into cloud computing, many people lost their job. Most networking experts, most database administrators, they lost their job because they are not having, databases in multiple locations to manage. But again, because the market is now becoming bigger and a little bit more stabilized, then they still need more people in that space. Then big data is as important as it could be, because like it's often said, data is now the next, oil. And when we talk of big data, there are a whole lot of strands of activities in there. You can be a data engineer, you can be a data analyst, you can be, a dashboard, presenter, and, a whole lot of activities within the big data, space. And I tell people, everybody is saying that, oh, there's money in big data, or there's money to become a data analyst. So you need to choose your space, because even though within the data, analysis space, you have data engineer, you have data analyst, and you have data analytics. So you have people who crunch the data as they're coming in. So that's where your data engineer comes in. And you have people who analyze the data, and that's where maybe your skill set and statistics and all of those things comes in. Then you now have another set of people whose responsibility is to now bring insights from that analysis that will now be shown to management. So if people come to me and say, oh, they want to go into data analysis, I'll be asking them, which sort or which part of data analysis do you want to go into? But the reality is that there is huge and massive opportunity there, but you just need to choose which of the space you want to play in. Then artificial intelligence and machine learning, this is also key, because now everything is going robotics, and everything about robots is all about machine learning, and it's all about artificial intelligence. Then blockchain is also going to be a big thing in the future, and we can see that also happening now with all of these cryptocurrencies and all of that. And now people are going into signing of documents or creating agreements, creating wills, and making sure that all of these things are securely, managed. Then coding and development, then also UX design. Then again, those are some of the core. I categorize those ones as core technical skills. It will take a while before you get to that level of expertise and being able to get, the right, kind of job in that area. But there's also some other areas that are not technical, but there are soft skills that you can easily pick up if you have the mindset. Like business analysis, you definitely need business analysts. Because you need people who need to solve the problem. You need people who need to understand the problem you're solving. People who need to be able to do all of those documentation. Innovation is going to be key, because again, what drives the world now is just about the innovation. The technology is just an enabler. It is the idea that you want to create, and the person who comes up with that idea is actually the winner. So the technology is just going to enable that idea. But if you are not coming up with those ideas to solve a particular problem, then the technology will not do anything for you. And that's why I tell people, it's not about, oh, I have a startup company. It's about what problem are you solving? And that's where business analysis and innovation comes in. They now need technology to just drive it and scale it up. Online marketing, content writing, these are also very key areas that people are making, good amounts of money, online, and we can also tap into it. So if you are very good at writing content, is good. You stay indoor, you stay in your location, you write those contents. And again, I'm sure we all know the kind of contents we should and the ones we should not write. Then healthcare and nursing is also very big, because healthcare is huge, huge, huge business, particularly in the Western world. And, we all know what is happening, with our nurses, with our doctors, and everybody moving, overseas and abroad, and they are paying them well. And when I mean well, they are paying them well because they are in short demand and they need this kind of skill set. Then emotional intelligence and also financial analysis is also very important, because everything ties around finance. So we must be financially alert. We must be financially aware. We must know how much we earn, how much are we saving, how much are we investing, where are we spending our money? Are we getting the right returns? Is it halal? Is it not halal? So all of these are very, very important. Not necessarily, again, for financial analysts, for we getting a job within that space, but for us to be fully rounded as individuals and make sure that, our finances are also what in tandem with the aspiration of making sure that we have a good strategic plan. Now,
Wow, thank you for that elaboration. Another question here is that, to get a mentor, how can one apply to a prospective personality as one's mentor? I mean, how do you get someone as a mentor? I think this is a big challenge for many of us, so to speak. Yes, people actually need someone who would handhold them. I mean, who would guide them. These people would have gone through all of this process. So, mentoring another person just means that all of those mistakes and the likes that the person must have gone through, this mentee would be able to avoid. So we find it difficult to get somebody who can actually handhold you. So this person is asking, how does he or she get somebody to mentor or him or her?
Yeah, very, very good question, and it's very profound, because getting the right mentor can take you to the next level, and getting the wrong mentor can actually take you down, right? So if you are looking for a mentor, all you need to be sure of is understand the expertise, the knowledge, and the experience of that person and how it relates to what you want to ask him about. And like I've said earlier on, you need many mentors. You are not just going to have one. And I'll give you a typical example of something that even happened to me I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just decided to say that, I wanted to start a new course in my career path, or start doing something different from what I've been doing. And I don't know who to talk to, but the person that came to mind is somebody that I've only met him once, and he has only come to my office maybe twice, and we've only met once. Yeah, or maybe twice. But I know that he has a skilled expert in that area. I just sent him an email to say, oh, I'm planning to do this. I know you're an expert in this. I just need some time to book some time with you. And he agreed. I will book like a 30 minutes meeting. And the information he gave me, I was shocked. I've been searching for information about that activity for almost like 3 months. But the information he gave me, I got the right thing at a almost zero cost, because I know that he has the skilled expertise. So if you are looking for a mentor, make sure you meet the person that has the skilled expertise in the area that you need assistance. So it is not one all fits all size. So it is not just one mentor that will tell you everything. No. If you are looking for one mentor that will mentor you on everything, then it's as good as you have started, laying the foundation for your failure. So for specific area, look out for specific people that have that skilled expertise. And with what we have today in social media, and particularly LinkedIn, you can go in there, you'll see people who meet who dot the I's and cross the T's for you for specific areas that you need assistance on. And you can send them an email, send them a message, and some of them might, be glad to, give you that. But, for me and for us as Muslims, we take it as part of our responsibility, because there is also a teaching of the Rasul that talks about, giving advice, that if anybody comes to you for an advice, it is mandatory upon you to give. It is mandatory. So for us who are Muslims, we'll find ourselves in that position that people come to us and ask us questions or ask us guidance. We see it as what? As an ibadah. But for some other people, they don't see it, that way. So for you to get the right mentor is make sure that that person is skilled in that area. Even though in the area of spirituality, we have our sheikhs, and they also have their own area of specialization. So you can't go and hack somebody who is just specializes in at this and at this alone. I want to ask him about financial matters, whether this matter is halal or is haram financially. Yes, he might know what the hadith says or what the Quran says, but in terms of the real application, that is not the expert in it. So that is the mistake we as individuals, mentees, will also make. We take all our questions or all our issues to one person, and we think that that one person knows everything. No. So you need to look at what you are asking for, where you need assistance from, what guidance you need, and go talk to the right what? Go talk to the right person.
Jazakumullahu khairan, sir. So the next question we have here is that what will you advise someone who have difficulties in breaking down actions to achieve his goal? He has a goal, but does not know how to break it down. Like, I should do so and so this week and so this month. How can such person go about it?
Yeah, so it's something that you have to get used to, and over time, one would. So the easiest way or the easiest example I can give is if you have a goal that you want to achieve, right? So that goal is a long-term, objective. So you now need to sit down and understand that, okay, the goal is the future state, right? That's where you want to be. Then the first question you ask yourself is, where am I now? So the first thing for that person to do is to understand his current state. Once you have defined the goal, which is the future state, understand your current state, then look at the difference between the two. And that is what will guide you to now action those steps. And a typical example could be that, oh, you want to start a new career path, maybe in cloud computing, for example. And you know that, yes, for you to do cloud computing, there are three different, cloud providers, in the world. Is either you go the Google way, or you go the Amazon way, or you go the, Microsoft way. So the next thing you'll be asking yourself is that, what skill set do I have that will enable me to do cloud computing? I don't have any skill sets. So it means I have to start from the what? From the scratch. Then what next you now need to ask yourself is that, who will guide me towards making sure that I choose the right platform, be it Google, be it Amazon, be it Microsoft, to guide me towards making sure that I'm able to pitch my tent in the right location. Then that is where a mentor comes in. So if you have a goal and you don't know how to break it down, explain to somebody whom you know understand that space, and that person can also help you to tease it down and break it down into smaller chunks. So that is one way of of getting that. But if you don't have anybody to talk to and you don't know who to talk to, then it's something that you have to lock yourself in a room. Like I said, this I do every quarterly, every 3 months, lock myself in a room or go to somewhere quiet. And when you have serenity, there is quiet time. Over time, you'll realize that you'll be able to break this thing down yourself. It is not as difficult as we think it is, but all we just need is that mindset and be calm. And that is why you must do it in an atmosphere of where you are calm and where you are sure that you don't have any distraction. Monthly, every quarterly, go to somewhere quiet, think of what you want to achieve, then start thinking of, how do I break it down? How do I break it down? How do I break it down? Over time, those activities, you get used to it. But the other bit, or the fast faster route is to talk to somebody who perhaps might have done that in the past, or who perhaps knows it, who you can now say, oh, this is my mentor, and you can get, information out of it. And again, I'll tell you, when you are also talking about mentor or whatever, you don't necessarily have to go to somebody and say, oh, I want you to be my mentor. I want to be, I would like to be your mentee. No, it's just like you can go openly, you just need an advice. These are the areas you are looking out for. Like the one I told you that happened to me like 3 weeks ago. I just went to the guy, I just said I need an advice, and I know you're an expert in this field. And he just started reeling out the information. And after I had that conversation with him, I had no doubt in my mind, and doing my own istihara, praying and all of that, I had no doubt in my mind that, I'm heading towards what? The right direction. But all this while, I've been thinking about it all alone. But all the information I'm getting was like, this thing is not hard enough. But when I spoke to the right person, everything added up. And now I was like, yep, I'm on the right track. So it happens that way, that you need somebody to actually just give you some guidance. But if you don't have anybody to give you those guidance, then you have to be calm and think about it over and again, over and again, over and again, until you're able to have a breakthrough.
Okay, I think we'll take the last question. For that. The last question is, how does one overcome the challenge of not being able to, cater for all your needs?
Yeah, very profound. But the reality is that we can't take care of all our needs. That's just a short, simple, sharp answer. Except, and for me, I don't like beating around the bush. I mean, I have needs that I've not been able to take care of. And that's just the nature of man. But the thing you always ask yourself is, what are the basic needs that I need to take care of? Am I able to take care of the basic ones? So if you're able to take care of the basic one, then try as much as you can to take care of all the other ones as they come along. Because the reality is that you cannot take care of all your basic needs. Even though the richest man in Africa, Aliko Dangote, cannot take care of all his needs with all the money he has. Or is it, Musk as the richest guy in the world? He can't take care of all his needs. And there are some needs that, things that are happening. I read one report about him of late, that somebody was actually tracking his jets. And the guy had a Twitter handle that would just be popping up. Oh, the guy is now in Houston, is now in Barbados, is now in this. And the guy kept on tracking him everywhere he goes. And with all the money he has and with all the technology he has, he still cannot stop this guy. And he was actually begging the guy to say, okay, come, I'll give you $50,000, just stop this stuff. The guy said, no, I don't need $50,000. I'm not going to do it. So the point is that there are some certain things that comes that we can't just solve. And part of it could be financial. So you cannot solve all your financial problem. But what you should do is, how are you intelligent about making sure that you solve the most critical one, which is the basic one that makes you to be sane, that makes you to be able to do your basic, responsibility of taking care of yourself and taking care of your immediate family. And if you're able to do that, then every other thing is secondary. So, and it's also solving the financial challenge is, we also need to come together as an ummah or as a society, as a group, to help solve our financial problem. And Islam has made things a lot easier for us to be able to do that. Because again, take for example in Nigeria, yes, we are having, halal investment and halal, financial outfit, but it's not as much as, what we need. Many people who are Muslims still goes to bank to borrow on haram. And some of them will be like, man, you've not provided an alternative for me. And even though the alternative you provided, the question they're asking us is also still as difficult as these other guys. So we as an ummah, we also need to come together to see how we can collectively help solve those financial challenges, because we can't do it all alone as an individual.
Jazakumullahu khairan, sir. The next person is Hajia Islamiyat Majolagbe.
That's the last question, please. This last question. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation, sir. My question is on particularly, I'm looking at the female folk now, and I would want you to relate that in answering your question. In answering my question, sorry.
Female what?
Yeah, female folk, as in we females in particular.
Okay.
Now
okay.
we may have goals and aspirations we want to achieve, and okay, fine, we write it down, and also in between writing down and initiating into action, there is a gap there, and that gap has a lot of things. There's fear of failure, there's fear of failure, procrastination, support from spouse and families. How do we navigate around that in achieving our aims? No, that's not from my hand, please. It's someone else. Are you getting my question?
Yeah. I got your question.
Yeah. So in between that, I really want you to dive into that, because a lot of us do have aims and aspirations, but we don't end up initiating it into actions. And at the end of it is making us, pulling us back. And so in between those space, there's a thin line there, there's a gap there with all those things. How do we navigate around it in achieving, our aims, having that self-fulfillment, in your life also, coupled with the family and every other thing that makes you? That's the first question. The second question is on a lighter note, really. I know when you were reading your profile, there was you use agile methodology which is a good one. And when I was reading your in-demand skills, I didn't see PMP there, so I was wondering, what's happening? So I would want you to say something on that aspect also. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, so again, I mean, like I said, maybe I should start with the second one. Like I said that, some of these in-demand skills are not exhaustive, and it also depends on individual. And again, if you talk about agile methodology, I mean, where I can categorize it as part of what I have listed here is going to be under, business analysis, right? So that's where, agility and all of those stuff, comes in. Even project management is also an in-demand, skills, because for all the robotics that you are building, for all the artificial intelligence, for all the big data projects you are doing, you need a project manager, you need a business analyst, and all of that falls under business, analysis. So on the first question, yes, it's not only even the female folks. Yes, the female folks might have a whole lot of more bigger, challenges. But the most important thing, particularly if I want to look at it from the female folks, is first and foremost, is understanding the fact that this you have to do. Because again, most often than not, we have hopes, dreams, aspirations. Some of them are not realistic, right? So you also need to be what? Question yourself. And like I said, if you check back the slide, the previous one that talks about, the steps, is like starting small. You don't need to boil the ocean. You don't need to do everything at once. Start small and start scaling up. And again, that's where agility, also comes in. You don't want to do everything at once. Just pick the ones that you feel you can and get satisfaction, get fulfillment in that, then move on to the next one. Everybody wants to be a billionaire. If I ask anybody here that somebody should raise up his hand, who amongst us here doesn't want to be a billionaire? We all have money. Everybody wants to be a billionaire. But we all can't be a billionaire almost at the same time, but we also need to start small. Dangote today that, everybody is talking about started, small. He has his aims, he has his goals, he has his aspiration, and over time, he started building on it. So the same thing for you. And that is why one of the other things is that you should not allow failure, set in. And particularly for the female folks, in doing all of this goals, you also need to bring your spouse, particularly your husband, alongside of it, because we all know the implications of we wanting to do all things ourselves without carrying along our husband. So that is very key. That is very important. So you need to find and make sure that you have a husband or a brother that is also understanding and tying into that goal. And if possible, both of you can co-create those goals as a family. to say, oh, this is what we want to achieve. And this is what you would do. This is what she would do. This is what this person would do. And you do it all together. And procrastination is also another very difficult thing to say. It's all about us being relaxed. And again, it's also about you not setting the right expectation, because you have raised the bar too high. If you have raised the bar too high, then you end up not being able to achieve it. And like for those who perhaps, let me just use that as an example. Maybe people who wants to lose weight and they say, oh, you need to run, let's say 10 kilometers every day. But you can't start, or you shouldn't start with 10 kilometers every day. You have to start with 2 kilometers. Once you stabilize, move on to 5 kilometers. Once you stabilize, move on to 6. Once you stabilize, move on. But if you start with 10 kilometers from day one, I can be rest assured that in 2 weeks or in 1 week, you'll burn out and you'll not be able to do it again. So start small and start moving up the ladder. And once you fail, look at why did I fail, and don't allow that failure to hold you down. And even if that failure wants to hold you down, think of other things that you can do. And on a personal note, so I also give this, example that, again, some of us will do exams and will fail and we realize that, oh, even after failing, we don't want to do it again. It's possible. Many people have failed. I have failed exam. And one of the exams that I failed that pained me the most was the exam that I felt I did prepared for the most. And today I'm just looking back retrospectively and thanking Allah that, I didn't even pass that exam, because maybe if I have passed it, it would have changed my trajectory in terms of my career path completely. For those of you who know CISA, which is Certified Information System Auditor, way back I went into that and I was like, no, this is my next career path. It was a difficult exam for those who knows about it. And the pass mark was actually 75. And the most painful aspect of it was that I got 73. If I had got 16, I would be like, oh, I didn't prepare well. So it was a failure. It was a setback. So you would always have those failures and those setbacks. So once you have those failures and those setbacks, what you now have to do is what? Replan, re-strategize. But for me, in that case, I just felt that, oh, this is not for me. And I moved on into a different area. And today I'm thanking Allah that I moved into a complete different area. But the thing is that I did not allow that failure to set me back, to say, oh, I'm not doing any exam again. Even though if I've decided that, oh, I'm not going this path, oh, this is another path that we have to do. So failures would always come. And once those failures comes, what you have to do is look at why you failed and map out a new strategy. And particularly for the females, you can do as much as you can and always make sure that we carry our spouse, along. And if we do that and we pray fervently, to Allah, do our istihara, you definitely realize that Allah will show you the right way. I do it and I've seen it work like magic. I don't know if anybody has witnessed it, but personally, I have witnessed it and I know it works magic. That once you consult with people and you also consult with Allah, you just realize that things just go. And if at the end of the day, it doesn't go your own way, you move to the next part. You know that that is the best for you because you've done everything you can. And if it fails, you know that that is what Allah has destined. But for you not to do anything, you didn't tie your camel and you believe that everything will just happen that way. You must take efforts. You must take activities. And the story of Prophet Yusuf and also Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam that we made mention of is also a classic examples of us even being prepared for this kind of a situation. And we just leave everything to the hands of Allah. But if we don't prepare and we say we've left everything to the hands of Allah, then we're only fooling ourselves. Allah.
Wow, Jazakallah khairan. It has been an elaborate and verbose one, and I can understand why our lecturer actually took time to do all explanations. He's a business analyst, so and in business analysis, you have to explain very well for whoever wants to develop. So I understand. So we say a big Jazakallah khairan to you. Say a big Jazakallah khairan to you. And sorry, I just wanted to add two things. I mean, for business analysis and financial analysts, I want to encourage us to, for those of us who are looking at areas to actually, invest our time in, I think most of us look at the software development aspects, and business analysis is also an aspect that is very lucrative that we can also look at. But I see that adoption is low in that area. And as well as financial analysts, I just joined a company which is an investment company, and I see what financial analysts do. It's an interesting area. In fact, I'm considering writing a CFA exam. So some of these things are there, and there are nice opportunities for us to take. So I'm sure with some of us who have questions or whatsoever, we'll be able to, link up with Brother Nurudeen, and at least he will assist us in doing some level of knowledge sharing and handholding. So we say a big example to you. Thank you for coming, and we appreciate you. And so on to the next item. It's a vote of thanks, and to do justice to that would be Dr. Miriam Obalola. If you dare kindly take over the virtual lecture. Dr. Miriam Obalola, are you there?
Yes. So we give thanks to Almighty Allah, say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, for giving us opportunity to be part of the program. And we pray that Almighty Allah make what has been said to be beneficial to us in this life and the hereafter. We thank our lecturers for the justice he has done to the topic. And all that he has said, there's no way that we will not have one or two things that we are going to hold on to or we gain from. We say Jazakumullah Khairan for that beautiful package. And we pray that Almighty Allah continue to increase you in knowledge and continue to be with you and your family. So also we say this is a great opportunity for us. Seminar like this, we have some people that pay thousands of naira to acquire it and to go for it, and we are seeing it free of charge. I want to employ every one of us that we should take advantage of it and make use of those things that are applicable to us. We pray that Almighty Allah make it easy for us and make it beneficial to us. So Jazakumullah Khairan to all those people that have do all the packages for us. We pray that Almighty Allah continue to enrich you in knowledge. So we say Jazakumullah Khairan to every one of us for being part of the program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan. So the last thing we have on our agenda is the closing prayer, which I will be doing. So alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, we thank Almighty Allah for the success of today's program. May He make it an huda for us and not against us. Amen. Let us jointly recite Surah Al-Asr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr innal insana lafi khusr illa allazina amanu wa amilus salihati wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamu ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.